I'm not your boss anymore. There's nothing for you here. Go home.
Grief is one of the hardest things a person can experience. For Big Boss, the loss of the boss shaped the trajectory of the rest of his life. At first, he tries to hold on to her and her dream desperately. She wanted to see a world united, and BB felt the best way to achieve that goal was to create a PMC of soldiers united, where they'd never be pitted against their friends for the benefit of their government. When BB feels the boss lay down her gun in their final encounter, however, he feels betrayed and rejects her dream and instead vows not to live like her. BB's story in Metal Gear Solid is a story of a man grappling with his grief. We witness BB move through the 7 stages of grief, updated from the 5 stages, as he builds PMC after PMC. Does he ever reach the final stage of acceptance, though, and find peace? Quick disclaimer before we get into things. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross invented the original 5 stages of grief, though she at first wanted to call them the 5 phases of grief. Stages imply grief is a checklist where you move from one point to the next with a sense of peace and acceptance being the final stage. This isn't true though. Grief isn't linear, and you can move between different phases of grief or experience multiple phases at the same time while you're grieving. The 5 phases of grief were also meant to describe what a person who's been diagnosed with a terminal illness may go through as they come to accept their imminent demise. It wasn't meant to apply to those grieving others. All that being said though, society has adopted the stages of grief to help navigate grieving themselves, which is totally understandable. I've lost people myself and definitely turned to the stages of grief as a way to try and make sense of things and maybe have a little hope that this pit of despair isn't forever. This video is just a fun thought experiment in applying the, now updated, 7 stages of grief to Big Boss as he tries to navigate the despair in losing the boss. Heads up, this video will have spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Luffy and welcome to my channel. I talk video games and character analysis, so if that's your thing, subscribe and stick around. If you like what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member so that I can continue to bring these videos to you weekly. If there's a topic you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments. The 7 stages of grief are the following: shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, depression, upward turn, reconstruction and working through, acceptance and hope. As we talked about before, these stages are more like phases that people fluidly move through. So we'll be tackling BB's journey through grief in Metal Gear Solid's timeline order, versus going through each stage individually. Also, it's important to know what the boss's will was for context. The short of it is, the boss wanted to see the world united regardless of borders. She wanted to see world peace. Okay, let's hop right into things. The loss of the boss, Metal Gear Solid 3.
Think you can pull the trigger?
The boss is put in an impossible situation, following her mission as the US government has assigned, or refuse and watch the Cold War heat up into nuclear World War III. Her mission is to take the fall for the US. When the boss faux-defected to Colonel Volgan's unit, he took the nuke she gifted him and fired it on a Soviet research facility. Obviously, an American-made nuke destroying a Soviet research facility would raise the already tense relationship between the two. To shift the blame away from the US and avoid a nuclear war, the boss agreed to take full responsibility for the nuclear strike as she defected. Khrushchev demanded that the boss be eliminated to show that the US government hadn't condoned her actions, and this mission was passed on to the boss's disciple, Big Boss. Okay, I know the stages of grief usually refer to someone who's grieving someone they've already lost, but there's a case to be made that BB was on his grief journey while the boss was still alive. He knew his mission could only end one of 2 ways. Either the boss was joining the sorrow, or he was. He's clearly grappling with her death far before the two face each other for one final time on the battlefield. When BB sees the boss for the first time during Operation Snake Eater, he refused to attack her. He waits until the boss attacks him and then retaliates to try and counter her attack. The boss, who also knows this mission has to end with her death, breaks BB's gun and tells him to run along home. BB's refusal to attack the boss shows he's in denial. He refuses to engage with his mission until the boss forces him to engage. The boss senses this and tells BB,
Just look at that bandana. If you can't put the past behind you, you won't survive long.
BB will have to move past his shock and denial of his mission and the boss's betrayal if he ever hopes to complete his mission. The first time BB attacks the boss without prompting is when he's wearing the Rykov mask. BB attacking her while hiding behind a mask could show that he's moved on to the pain and guilt stage of grief. He can't stand to face her himself, but from behind a mask, he has the courage to try. It's easier to attack someone when you're anonymous. The boss hands BB his butt to him again though, so BB will have to try another time. BB attacks the boss again when they meet up in the Shagohod's hangar. He's not hiding behind a mask this time. Maybe he's mustered up some anger at the situation he's been thrust into, and is harnessing that anger to attack the boss? Or maybe he's just accepting his mission more and more as we come to the end of it. He has a limited amount of time to take down the boss and is quickly reaching crunch time. During their final confrontation, BB asks the boss why she's doing all of this. BB asking for the boss's motives could be a way to see if there's a way to bargain his way out of this situation. If he understands why she's doing what she's doing, maybe there's something he can say to change her mind. Or maybe he asked her to give her the opportunity to talk about herself one last time before she dies. After the boss is no more and BB has been awarded the title Big Boss for his efforts, he goes to visit her grave. He cries as he salutes her grave and has moved on to the depression stage of grief. Most of Metal Gear Solid 3, BB spends his time in the shock and denial stage of grief. He cannot believe that he's been pitted against the boss and that by the end of Operation Snake Eater, only one of them will survive. As he tries to make sense of this loss, he searches for a purpose to live his life by, and for a way to honor the boss. He finds PMCs are the answer to both and departs from the US military to act as an independent mercenary. He builds his first PMC, MSF, and promises that any soldier that fights under MSF's flag will never be used by their government to hurt the people they care about. The boss told BB that the survivor of their battle will go on to keep fighting, and fighting is what BB sticks to. By not putting down his gun and building a PMC full of soldiers who will never be pitted against their friends, BB feels that he honors the boss. A perceived betrayal. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker.
She betrayed me, Kaz. In the end, she put down her gun. And when she did, she rejected her entire life up to that point, including me.
We follow BB in Peace Walker as he builds his PMC MSF bigger and bigger with Kaz's help. In one of the first scenes, BB takes off his shirt and reveals he's body modded himself to have the boss's C-section scar. He's clinging to her memory, and maybe his body modification helps him feel closer to her. He's bargaining, trying to convince himself that he can hold on to a small piece of her at least. The same can be said for her bandana, which he clings to with the same dedication. He's still feeling the pain of her loss and is refusing to let go. Throughout Peace Walker, BB has flashbacks about the boss, though his flashbacks are jumbled up compared to the game we played through. The boss says in BB's memory,
"As long as we have loyalty to the end, there's no point in believing in anything, even in those we love."
The boss never says this to BB. She talks a lot about what to believe in and asks BB,
"What's it going to be? Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me? Your country or your old mentor?"
but she never definitively gives BB an answer. She lets him make that decision for himself. BB misremembering the boss's words could be him trying to get her approval for his assassinating her. Maybe if she agreed with his decision, not that she didn't, the boss played her role flawlessly, she'd also forgive him for it. Like BB, Dr. Strangelove is struggling to accept the boss's death. She's a scientist working on reviving the boss in AI form and interrogates BB for more intel on the boss. During this interrogation, BB shows that he's accepted the boss's death when he tells Dr. Strangelove,
Face it, the boss is dead. Whatever's inside that machine, it isn't her.
He refuses to help Dr. Strangelove finish her AI. The boss is dead. In the same scene, BB begs for Dr. Strangelove to up the voltage and end him, showing how depressed he is over his loss. The AI pod goes on to control Metal Gear Peace Walker and walks into a lake to drown itself and stop the false data from being transmitted to NORAD, thereby avoiding a nuclear retaliation. The AI walking into the lake proves to Dr. Strangelove and BB that the boss had thrown the fight that ended her life. She sacrificed herself to save her country. Dr. Strangelove is elated, but BB is angry. He tells Kaz,
In giving up her life, she abandoned everything she was as a soldier. I won't make the same choice as her. My future is going to be different.
He casts off the boss's bandana and accepts the title Big Boss. Sometime later, Kaz and BB are talking about how the Times dictated the boss do what she did. BB acknowledges that the Times is their greatest enemy, and how they'll need to take down the Times. This can show an upward turn for BB. Although he's feeling betrayed by the boss, he's no longer trying to live the way he feels she wanted him to. He's now living for himself and directing his energy towards his perceived enemy, the Times. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is all about reconstruction and working through grief. BB is mulling over his time with the boss and everything she said to him during their final moments together. He remembers things that she didn't actually say as he tries to read between the lines and glean what she really meant to tell him. He comes out of Peace Walker angry at his perceived betrayal by the boss and wants to fight against the thing that pitted them against one another. Conflict between two evenly matched nuclear superpowers. If he disrupts armed conflict between two aggressive countries, or if he becomes the biggest and baddest nuclear superpower around, then maybe he can prevent ever having to fight another friend. Whether or not this logic is sound, BB has certainly become his own man operating independently from the boss's ideals. Acknowledgment of mistakes. Metal Gear Solid 4.
At last, I understand the truth behind your courage.
BB shows up at the end of MGS4 to explain the behind-the-scenes plot to Snavid. During his speech, he works through the boss's death even more. He starts to understand her sacrifice when he says,
You only need one snake. No. The world would be better off without snakes.
The boss wanted to see a world where snakes weren't necessary because the world would be united. Though BB shows that he's still hanging on to his sadness when it comes to the boss's death when he says,
Ever since the day I killed the boss with my own hands, I was already dead.
When Snavid asks BB if he, Snavid, is going to die, BB tells him,
Everyone dies. You can't stop it. You can't run away from it. Let me tell you something. Don't waste the life you have left fighting.
BB understands that fighting is futile, and Snavid shouldn't make the same mistakes as him and fall into a never-ending cycle of violence. It shows that BB hopes for better for Snavid, though he doesn't carry that same hope for himself. As he said before, he was dead the moment he killed the boss, showing that he wouldn't have had hope for his own future, even if he was granted more time. BB reflects on the wisdom the boss had been trying to pass on to him and asserts,
Oh, it's not about changing the world. It's about doing our best to leave the world the way it is. It's about respecting the will of others and believing in your own.
BB finally gets what the boss had been trying to teach him. In this way, he finally accepts her sacrifice and has hope for the future of the world. BB tells Snavid,
It's almost time for me to go. And with me, the last ember of this fruitless war dies out. And at last, those old evils will be gone.
Without BB, Zero, or the Patriots AIs around to try and shape the world is free to, hopefully, grow together instead of being splintered apart by their individual interpretations of the boss's will. BB's final moments are full of hope for the future. BB finally accepts the boss's death at the end of MGS4. It took him his entire life, but he finally was able to accept it right at the very end. Your thoughts? I started this script thinking BB never accepted the boss's death. I thought the closest he got was reconstruction and working through, and he's still working through what her words meant, even at the end of MGS4. After really analyzing his end speech, though, I do think he accepted it. Though part of me thinks he was finally able to accept it because he knew he was about to join her. I was curious if y'all thought he accepted the boss's death at some point, so we took a poll here on YouTube. The majority of you agreed that BB did accept the boss's death. Damien LC8895 commented, I think he accepted the boss's death. As for the hope part, well, I don't think he had time for that. And in a similar vein, Google user 7454 commented, it really sounds like he accepted it by then too. Too bad that realization didn't come decades earlier, but whatever. I so wish BB had had time to act on his realizations. It really is too bad that BB's end speech in MGS4 didn't come decades earlier, where he could have acted on them. He really didn't have the time to show us that he could back up his words and maybe put the fight down himself too and live his life like how he tells Snavid to. Neo-Ludism Rules commented, "He was in multiple comas for decades. I think he had enough time to come to terms with everything," which really got me thinking. I've heard that people in comas are still aware and can even sense the passage of time, so I wonder if BB was just trapped inside himself thinking about the boss. That sounds like torture. With nothing to distract himself, he has to face his grief. I wonder if that's why he had such a change of heart at the end of MGS4. He was forced to face his grief and what had happened, and make sense of it all. What do you think though? Did BB finally accept the boss's death and have hope for the future by the end of MGS4? The loss of the boss changed BB's life. Up until the boss's death, BB questioned what it meant to be a soldier and how to think like a soldier. Should a soldier be loyal to their government even after that government commands them to end someone they love dearly? After the boss's death, BB separates himself from the US military and builds his own PMC. BB takes command of his own life and refused to be put in another situation where he'd need to use his skills as a soldier to hurt those he cared about. What kind of man would BB have shaped up to be without this loss? Would he have continued working for the US government? Would he have turned out to be like the boss, loyal to the US military to the very end? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's video. If you liked it, share it with someone who wants to know more about Metal Gear Solid lore. If you need more MGS content, check out my Patreon. I upload articles I write on upcoming videos or just thought pieces on MGS in general. You can also support me in the channel by becoming a channel member. Or join us in Discord. We're always talking about MGS. More importantly than that though, please take care of yourself and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.